When Mary and Joseph left Nazareth for Bethlehem, it was a 3-day journey on foot. Mary rode a donkey. But given her condition, great with child, it could not have been an easy trip. Bethlehem was the town where David was born, then later anointed king. It was where the Jewish people dreamed the Messiah would be born, the long-awaited ultimate king, ultimate anointed one, which is what Messiah means. So when the wise men, the Magi, asked Herod where the child be born to be king would be born, the priest whispered in Herod's ear, Bethlehem. Bethlehem. How far had the wise men traveled? Tradition has it from Persia, what is now Iran. A 3-week journey across desert sands. If we travel to Bethlehem today, you and I, we'll take a plane to Jerusalem and then travel by car the 4 miles to Bethlehem. In all, it's about a 6,000-mile journey. You'll probably enter from the north, as Mary did. And you'll come to a church called the Church of the Nativity. It was first built by Emperor Constantine out of his newfound zeal as a Christian convert in the early 300s. It sits on the side of a shepherd's cave where tradition says Jesus was born. In the early 200s, Origen, who would later become a famous theologian, traveled from Alexandria to Bethlehem. He discovered that believers and non-believers alike identified that spot, a grotto, a cave-like place, as the place where Jesus was born. In 130, the pagan emperor Hadrian desecrated all the Jewish and Christian holy places. On the side of the Holy Sepulchre, where Jesus was thought to be buried, he erected a temple to Venus. On the side of the Shepherd's Cave, where Jesus was thought to be born, he built a garden to Adonis. So maybe this was the place. We need not just holy words, and holy people, but we also need holy places. If you go to the Church of the Nativity, you must stoop to enter the front door. Only children can enter upright. Which seems right, doesn't it? That we must stoop, must bow to enter there. To go to the place where Jesus was born, you walk down a staircase to a room beneath the chancel. It is 13 feet by about 33 feet. On the marble floor, there is a silver star marking the spot. Who would not want to kneel and touch it? Maybe even place your lips upon it. What is the meaning of this holy night? This holy story? This holy place called Bethlehem? Jesus was born into a family poor by our standards, born in a stable, a shepherd's cave, because there was no room in the inn. God's Son, born not in an emperor's palace, but in a shepherd's cave, a stable for animals. God, Emmanuel, comes anywhere, everywhere, into any place, every place, any and every place. Early church theologians were careful to say that God took on flesh Not just one man. Not just one man's flesh. The flesh of all humanity. God assumed our human nature, not just one person's nature. And here is the universality of the gospel. God has taken in Jewish flesh, Christian flesh, Muslim flesh, Buddhist flesh, Native American religion flesh, Druid flesh, agnostic flesh, doubting flesh, all flesh. All. Thomas Merton, the famous Kentucky monk, had an epiphany one day at the corner of 4th and Walnut Streets in downtown Louisville. He saw as in a vision himself connected with every person walking along the street. He wrote, "I have the immense joy of being human, a member of the race in which God himself became incarnate. If only people could realize this. But it cannot be explained. There's no way of convincing people they are walking around shining like the sun." On this night, God became small enough for us to love, small enough for us to hold, to rock, to feel his tiny hand suddenly grip your finger. Perhaps here is where we first begin to follow the great commandment of both Jewish and Christian faith. Thou shalt love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Maybe we start there with a child. And then that love grows and matures and extends not only to God, but to all the world. Is there a deeper peace than holding a child in your arms? A sleeping child. And we start with a child. Perhaps also this is where you begin to love yourself as God loves you. You, beloved daughter, son of God, as Jesus was God's beloved. You are that holy child adored. God adores you. Which then opens your eyes to a world where every child is holy. Every child beloved of God. Bethlehem is what Celtic Christians call a thin place. A place where the veil separating the material and the spiritual grows so thin as to disappear. And you feel at one with God. This child, Jesus, will grow up. This child, Jesus, will, in time, make adult demands on adult followers. Will heal the sick. Challenge the powers that be. Befriend the poor and despised, and ask us to do the same. All this is to come. But for now, on this night, we simply adore and find peace. How far is it to Bethlehem? 6,000 miles? A 3 weeks journey across the sands? 3-day journey on foot? How about 16 inches? That is the distance between your head and your heart. Sometimes the longest journey of all. But one you can travel in an instant of time. It is that spiritual moment when the mind descends into the heart. How far is it to Bethlehem? Not very far. Shall we find a stable room lit by a star? Can we see the little child? Is he within? If we lift the wooden latch, may we go in? If we touch his tiny hand, will he awake? Will he know we've come this far just for his sake? His sake. And of course, our own sake, too. And the sake of the world. Who, in the darkened night, needs a small light? Who, in a world troubled and afraid, needs to believe?